Of course the world is too much for you. What do you expect? It overwhelms you daily, takes over your mind and your emotions, so that you don't have a life of your own. Of course the world takes you over, because what it takes over is yourself. You think that there's an enemy out there, and you're so suspicious and so worried and so guarded and defensive, and you want to believe that the enemy is out there so that you can absolve yourself from responsibility of being someone who has overcome the world, which you can do. Now you stop it. Now you stop it right now, feeling as if you're a victim of something out there. Because I am telling you that you're not. You're a victim of your own wish to be a victim and nothing else. You want to cry. You want to scream out that someone is persecuting you, getting after you. And you say, well, look at the evidence of it. Look at the people, all the people who want my money, who demand my time, who want one thing or another from me. And you say they're not after me. You want to believe that. And I tell you that if you want to be free of all demanding people, you can do it. Now I'll tell you what you have to do it. And let's see if you're willing. You know what your life consists of? Putting demands on other people. Sending requests. Sending messages out to the world, saying from the world what you want. You are putting demands on the world, and that's what puts you in the position of thinking that you're a victim from demanding people. If you want to prove everything I've said, you stop sending out any kind of demands to anyone for anything and see what happens. What will happen is that your whole inner world, as you now know it, will collapse completely. And with it will go all your pains. With it will go all your strains. Don't you understand what you're doing to yourself? Don't you understand that when you send a demand out into the world, you're asking it to conform to what you want? And do you really think, even in the level of simple logic, do you think the world is going to obey you? You know very well you're not going to get what you want from that world out there. And yet you send out the demands in order to have something to cry about. I'd better tell you, you'd better listen to me. There's something seriously wrong with you. And if you don't know it, you can look for the evidence in yourself of your own unhappiness, of your own weeping. Look, you're not afraid of the world out there. Not at all. You're really not. I'm telling you. You're not afraid of those people out there. You're afraid of living with yourself. But you don't want to face that. You always want to put it outside of you so you can blame someone. And why do you want to blame someone else? So you can be the innocent one. So you can say, look what they've done to me. All my life people have been after me. Your degree of immaturity is the same degree as the number of demands that you throw out into that world. And to the degree of your immaturity will be the degree of your unhappiness and your confusion and your struggling, and you don't see what you are doing to yourself. Do you want to? I ask you that question. Will you slow down your life long enough? Would you give up one complaint today in order to begin to see through the trick you're playing on yourself, the disastrous trick in which you yourself are the only cause of any difficulties, of any heartaches you have. No, you don't want to believe that. You've heard that before, haven't you? And you don't want to believe it because it would put a new kind of a responsibility onto you, so a responsibility to change, to begin to grow, to begin to be an authentically good person. Well, how would you describe yourself? How would you describe your goodness or lack of it when all you do all day long is cry? When all you do is fight the world? You're not fighting the world, you're fighting yourself, and you put it outside so that you don't see what kind of a condition you're in. Now listen to this, and maybe you've heard this before too, but let's see if you hear it this time. No one can make you unhappy but yourself. Now look, you've run across that before. Why did you push it away 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Why did you push it away when you read somewhere or heard the idea that nothing and no one can make you unhappy but your own self? Because you pushed it away because, again, that would mean that you would have to look inside yourself and see yourself as the cause of it. And you don't want to work. You want to sit around and make up stories about how badly the world has treated you. And you don't want to see that all the time you're thinking that, you're doing something terrible. You're doing something very bad to yourself. What we're talking about right now is something very drastic that you are going to have to do. That you're going to have to do in spite of everything inside of you that says don't do it, that screams out don't do it. But you're not seeing this, you're unaware how something in you wants everything to remain as it is. This proves that you would prefer to have strain and antagonism and tears than have freedom from them. I'm going to tell you very simply and very directly that if you prefer to not be knocked around, you don't have to be. I'm telling you that you don't have to be bewildered anymore. You say the world out there bewilders me with all those people saying different things. And I apply for work and I run into all kind of difficulties. I run into financial problems in the home. I want something and I can't get it. What kind of a mad world is this? You can have a world of your own, that world out there, regardless of how it is, you can have a world of your own that world can't touch. I gave you the requirement for that. The requirement that you want a right inner world more than you want to cry and scream and complain. Not many people are going to do it. So this makes it something that you as individuals, as a man or as a woman, are going to have to do. You just search inside yourself and see where you have been making your mistake. Don't you dare ever again point the finger at another person and say that you are the cause of my unhappiness. You've been doing this all your life. And isn't it strange that as often as you've done that, nothing changes inside of you, and that's exactly what you want. How very pathetic that all these billions of human beings on earth are content to let things remain as they are. Oh, let's get a little closer to home on that. How sad that you want everything to stay exactly as it is. There's nothing that you love more than to strike out, than to demand. Do you see this at all? Would you ever watch yourself go through a day? Do you ever take 1 minute out of your day and see that you just can't stop talking? That you can't stop talking to yourself? Now, what do you expect? when you're getting all this advice from your own confused mind? And then so many human beings have the audacity to say that they know what they're doing, that their mind is clear and they know what they want. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who had to walk down to his office every day, and to walk down the street and upstairs and downstairs. And a strange thing happened to him all day long, walking to work, going to the office, and then coming home again. And what happened to him all day long is that he bumped into things. He'd be walking along the sidewalk, and he wouldn't be watching himself, and he'd bump a foot against something protruding out from the sidewalk. He'd get to the office, and he'd bump his shoulder, bump his head, bump an arm against something. All day long he bumped into things. I'm talking about your life, you understand? You're always bumping into things, and we'll find out what that is a little bit later. So this went on for a long, long time. Now, if you bump into things all day long, you're going to have a lot of bruises, aren't you? And those bruises are going to hurt, and you're going to have to take a lot of time and a lot of attention to them. Oh, what a waste of energy to get bruised all day long and then have to give attention to it. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to be completely free of the bumps and bruises, so that we could use our energy intelligently to doing something else, such as waking up. You're not awake, you're sound asleep. And the fact that you're in so much pain and make so many demands is evidence of that. Anyway, this man suffered for a long, long time from bumping into things. And he didn't know what to do about it. But one day he was going down one of the streets, bumping into things as usual, and he saw a big sign over in front of a new office building. And it said, "Advice for people who bump into things." Ah, he thought this was great, exactly what I wanted. Thank heaven there's someone who can tell me what to do and what not to do. So he said, tomorrow I'll go down there and have a nice long consultation with the expert who will show me how not to bump into things. So he got up the next morning with the resolve, since it was his day off, to go down and find out what it was all about. But the more he thought about it, the more reluctant he became to go down and talk to the man. He began to feel ashamed of himself. He said, look, if I go in there, I'll have to admit that here I am, a grown-up human being, a so-called adult who can make his own living and take his care of his home and do all these things. I'll have to admit that all my life I haven't been capable of taking care of myself. I'm always running into something and getting hurt. I don't think I'll go. I don't want to admit that I've been wrong. Just hit home to you a little bit. I don't want to admit that I've been a blunderer all my life. I don't want to admit what I've been doing against myself. So the poor, pathetic man continued to bump and get hurt for another period of time. All the time, now in double conflict, because he sensed, felt, hoped that just maybe this expert could tell him what to do about it. But he still wouldn't go because of his pride and his vanity. Let's pause just long enough to ask you, are you aware of how much vanity, how much conceit you've built up in yourself so you can never admit that you're wrong about anything? You're always right, and you're always right, and the other person is always wrong. All right. Well, something happened to him that you had better make happen to you as soon as possible. When the pain gets too bad. I should tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it already is. The pain is too bad, isn't it? The world is overwhelming you, wherever that world is, and you don't know. I told you where it is. It's inside of you. It overwhelms you, and you don't know what to do about it. But I've been telling you. So he finally said, enough is enough. I'll go down, as much as it's going to pain me, I'll go down and see what the man has to say. So with trembling hands, he turned the doorknob and went into the office of the expert who had set himself up in business to tell people how to stop bumping into things. So he went in, and he started to tell the man a long, long story, and the man listened very patiently. The expert listened and nodded his head. And the man liked to talk a lot, the man who bumped himself. He thought it was necessary to give him all the details, just as you like to talk to yourself and to other people about all your difficulties and all your problems, and waste all your energy in that because you don't want to get to the point. You'd rather talk than act. You'd rather think idly than do proper interaction that would change things. So he went on and on. And when he got tired of talking, the expert behind the desk looked at him and he said, I'll tell you your problem. And when you understand the problem, you'll understand the solution. He said, your problem is your eyes are not connected with your mind. Would you like me to repeat that? The expert said, your eyes are not connected with your mind. You look, but you don't see. Your eyes are operating, but they don't send a message to your mind to be careful of what's poking out there on the sidewalk or down at the office. In other words, sir, you look, but you're incapable of recognizing an obstacle when you see one, a danger when you see one. So if you don't recognize a danger, you're going to run into one all the time. And the man who bumped himself so badly said, you know, that's right. You're right. The dangers, the problems, the obstacles were right in front of me, and I couldn't see them. I didn't see them because I was thinking about something else. When that chair was in the way and I bumped right into it and hurt my foot, I didn't see it because I was thinking about something else. Instead of seeing the chair and say, now if I continue along this course, I'm going to run into that chair and I'm going to go, ouch. So I said, from now on, I'm going to pay attention to where I'm walking. I'm going to see my relationship with everything out there so that I don't bump into things anymore and get hurt. I'm going to connect what's out there with my mind, and that's what he did. And you know what happened? He didn't bump into things anymore. Now I'll tell you what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to connect your life with the Spirit. I can't call it your spirit because you don't have it yet. You're going to have to connect your life, your walk with the Spirit of truth. You're not going to change it any other way. You're not going to get rid of those foolish and pointless demands of yours. You're not going to do any... What I'm saying is to encourage you, not discourage you. You're not going to do anything right until you have something right guiding you. You see, you have a life, yeah? Not a very pleasant life, is it? You have a life, and this is all you have. You don't have any guidance for it at all. What you call guidance is reference to your own past ideas of what you should have, or what other people should give you, of how much they owe you, how they should treat you. And of course, everybody should treat you with love. Now, as if you know what you're talking about when you demand that other people should be affectionate and kindly and loving toward you. You have no idea of what you're talking about because you have no love in you at all. You're using the word. Well, isn't that a fact? Or aren't you simply using different words to try to convince yourself that they represent virtues inside of you when they are words with nothing in back of you? All right, so we've discovered that you have a life. Not much of a life. Now, it just so happens, ladies and gentlemen, that there is something beside your life. What you now have altogether is a mind that doesn't work very well in the physical self, and lots of activities and a lot of wasted emotions. This is what you have, what you call your life, and you are absolutely sure, because of the way your mind works wrongly, that this is all that exists. And when I tell you about the Spirit of truth, when I tell you about an authentically higher life, it has no meaning to you. It can't convey anything to you, because you try to translate it into personal wants and needs, and you say, oh, that's fine. If there's a higher life, then a higher spirit, then it will give me what I want that I haven't been able to get otherwise. How sad that when truth, reality, God is brought into the picture a little bit, we immediately latch onto it and try to use it for our personal possession, for our personal needs, and thereby wreck everything. Do you understand then that there's a big difference between a religious mind and a spirit? Anyone can have a religious mind, a wrong mind. A religious mind is a wrong mind. A religious mind is one that is filled with religious phrases and so-called prayers, quoting from books, talking about higher things. That's a religious mind. And millions of human beings who have hatred in their hearts have religious minds. Well, let's get again closer home to you. What do you have? Well, you have a life of your own, and it presently, very unfortunately for you, there is no connection with that and the spirit of reality. You can make a connection. Rephrased, a connection can be made. The connection can be made when you see the mistake you've been making all your life. Your mistake is thinking that you can do it, that you can guide your life. You insist that I must guide it because that's all I have. What else is there beside me? Listen to the question you just asked. You asked it. I know that. I just phrased it for you. What else is there besides me? Please, why don't you find out? Why don't you go into it all the way so that you find out what there is besides you? Unless you do, nothing is going to change. Unless you get this urge in you to explore, to see what's beyond your thinking, beyond your reacting, beyond your emotion. Unless you get this urge and keep it alive by feeding with truthful ideas, you are going to stay the same. And you're going to be very, very frustrated. And you're going to be very sad. And you will continue to waste your life as you have done up till now. You don't like to hear that? I know very well you don't like to hear it. How many people want to hear that they're 40, 50, 70, 80 years old and they've wasted their lives? You want to hear of a miracle? Whatever your age is, if you go all the way until do you see that there really is a spiritual life that can live its life through you so that you have a decent life and a free life? If you do that, the moment you permit the Spirit of truth to enter you, at that moment you have no longer wasted 50 or 60 or 90 years. You've canceled time, you've canceled the past. You have something that's new right now, new every second. Something that refreshes itself every second. Because it has nothing to do with the repetition and the memory and the oldness and the dreariness of the old life, of the old memory, and all the old ideas. So you see, if you want to end the waste of your life, all you have to do All you have to do is determine to go into the end of things and let the Spirit in you. And at that moment, there is no past anymore to be wasted. Understand that you're not recreating any of the regrets, any of the pains, any of the problems that now bother you, that hound you. They're all gone, because the present moment in the Spirit of truth is free, and you being in that Spirit are also free. I'm talking to you about a reality. I'm talking to you about something that you can live, that you can know. This is the truly pleasurable life. This is the only real life. This is the life that can come to you. You want to get rightly excited? Get rightly excited over this and invite it. And oh, what a change. Oh, what a beauty.